Hi everybody, welcome to our next session of Attitude is Everything, where I'm talking to business owners, real business owners that are, just refusing to give up during this period, actually, not only surviving, but actually thriving as well. So in this session, I welcome Jake Lee, founder of IYF Trading. Welcome, Jake.
Hello, Dean. Thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. It's my pleasure. For everybody, that's watching, can you just tell us a bit about you, a bit of an introduction into yourself and IYF Group? And everything that comes with it.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's important I do that because I stemmed from IYF Trading, which you said in the first instance. So a lot of people, they recognise me as, IYF Trading business. And since then, obviously, I've developed out into kind of running my own group. So, the IYF Group is just, it's home to 5 online enterprises. So I've kind of, modelled a blueprint for a successful online educational model business, and then I've spread it into different industries. So we've expanded out into the property field. We're heavily in the trading field. We're in a few other fields as well. So yeah, just an online entrepreneur who's trying to provide value in the industries that I believe I can. So that's pretty much an introduction to me. The group just specialises. We have one clear mission statement. IYF stands for Improve Your Future. So our aim pretty much is to improve futures by innovation and education. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Apologies for that. I meant to say group, didn't I? But I'm getting confused. You've got so many businesses running now. I lose track myself. So.
I get confused myself.
So I mean, who are you primarily aimed at, Jake? Is it a certain demographic, or is there is different businesses within your group aimed at different demographics? Tell me about that.
What I'd say is every business I set up now, I don't set a business up going, oh, look, this is going to be a great idea. This is going to be a demanded service. It's not like that. I understand certain demographics and I build services for a certain demographic or niche. There's no point, wasting time trying to spend ages in development, getting something off the ground and going, oh, it's not working. Trying to, spend hours and endless years even trying to find customers for your products. It's not the way that I do it. So every single business has a different demographic, a niche that we focus on. And that is why, and that's the purpose of the product that we build, is specifically for that niche, if that makes sense. We're trying to fit the needs and provide value to a certain demographic of consumers. So, for example, a good example would be Mortgage Friends, which we're launching next month. So, this isn't a case of, let me just build a platform that educates people on mortgages. No, there's a clear demand in the younger generation for knowledge around what for most of us is going to be the most important financial product of our lifetime. So it's specifically aimed at new buyers, helping them actually understand the product, the ins and outs of the products, and find the best mortgage for them. Or alternatively, actually help these people, get their books in line and get their understanding right before they take that vital step into what is such an important financial product. So that's what I'd say, Dean. Everything's targeted differently. Every audience is focused, and that's how we excel. We focus on niches and we provide, products that are directly for a group of consumers, so that when we launch, we're not going to be wasting years trying to find consumers and customers. We already know as soon as we launch, we're going to have a flow.
They're targeted, right? You know exactly who they're targeted at, and that's brilliant. I look forward to seeing about this mortgages because anyone who knows me hears me bang on about how our school system fails us and things like that. And one of the biggest, even if people don't go into business, there's things like out there like mortgages, which is the most expensive thing we're ever going to buy in our lives probably. And it's a minefield for people, and there's people that feel nice without understanding.
Even if you're later on and you say, for example, you've already got a mortgage, this product isn't just for help-time buyers. We have 2 niches that we're going for. The first one, obviously, is those people trying to get on the ladder for the first time. And the second one is people that, they've trusted the guy down the road to say, look, I can get you a mortgage, here's your mortgage. And all of a sudden you pay, I don't know, 700-800 quid a month for 30 years. And you're paying X interest on that. And, you could be pulling different benefits out of that. You could be paying lower interest. You could be having a better suited mortgage for your actual circumstance. And it could save you literally thousands. So it's also targeting people that genuinely just do not understand mortgages, because potentially a remortgage option and understanding the power of that remortgage and the perks you can get out of that can completely, save you thousands over your lifetime. So
Fantastic. So it would be good if while we talk through this, it'd be good if if you want to talk about one part of the business or as the group, or from Jake Lee's perspective anyway, just about some of the questions and about how, you know, and the first one I've been asking everyone really is, you know, when did you first feel that this whole COVID, this whole lockdown, the pandemic, you know, we're coming out of the lockdown now, but, you know, there's certainly more issues to come. When was it first apparent to you? When did you first look at it and go, you know what, we're going to have to make some changes, or there's going to be some knock-on effects on my business or my clients? When was the first indicator for you?
I think when I actually had COVID, I didn't get affected by it, but my...
Oh, you've had it, have you?
No. So I must have been a carrier, because my girlfriend came back from Dubai
Right.
in early February, and she was extremely ill, and then my brother got extremely ill as well.
Right.
I didn't, thank God. I don't know why, but they both got really ill, and you know, it was clear that there was something majorly wrong, because other people started to pick this up as a massive illness. So obviously at the time it was all about China. We were looking at it from a point of, you've both got it, it's already spreading massively. But a fortunate point for us was we actually we moved to a remote-based structure last November. So, you know, in terms of impact on premises and you know, staff and costs, we'd kind of eradicated a lot of risk in that department based on the conceptual change that we made last year as a business. And you'll remember that. Obviously, we were in the same business suite, and you know, one day I was off, and you know, I just feel like naturally this was coming. I knew that running a business remotely was going to be, you know, vastly more beneficial, especially the nature of the businesses I run, the fact that they're all online based. We were kind of running the way I always look at it is we're running a 21st century business model, but we've got a 20th century business structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
we're an online business model, but our structure is 20th century in-house, you know, building out employees and big teams and big overheads, when it just did not suit the way we were doing business. So it massively affected our profit margins as a company. So yeah, we made that switch in November. But like I said, in February, when we saw this, you know, pandemic glooming over us, for us as educators, in the majority of our businesses anyway, it was a substantial opportunity. It was an amazing opportunity, because people all of a sudden had time on their hands.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, to actually learn and enroll in courses and take things a little bit more seriously, you know, spend the weekends coaching themselves and improving themselves, rather than just, you know, sitting on the side of, okay, I'm just going to waste away this time. They're not going out on the weekends. They're not, you know, wasting time and being unproductive and procrastinating. They're literally forced to try and learn a new skill. So it did work really well for us.
So what did you do to actively, so you've recognized it's happening, you've already, as you said, you know, our offices were on the same business area, right? So in the same business park. So, you know, I can remember when you moved out and you said you were going remote, and all of your staff went off to their working remote. When did you first, you know, what did you do when this first happened to capitalize on that? And so, like you said, all these people are now sitting around without, you know, with time on their hands, even some people in full-time employment, or some are on furlough, things like that. So it's time to learn these new skills now. So what actions did you take?
So I think the main one was the marketing funnel that we set up. And you know what really annoys me is when people go, oh, people are capitalizing on a pandemic. We're business owners. We have to make the best out of every situation we're put in, otherwise we will die in the market.
Yeah.
I get it to a certain circumstance, for example, charging extortionate prices for things like face masks, which we know apparently all need to wear from X date in the future. Whereas from our side, you know, our marketing funnel was directed towards, you know, look, make the most of your time during the pandemic and the lockdown. You know, that was how we set up as a business marketing wise. By no means are we capitalizing on the unfortunate circumstance. We're making the most of it, and we're actually connecting with people. And that's what businesses have to do. They have to directly connect to the consumer. If you don't have an understanding of the consumer and the values of the consumer, you're not going to be able to display the value your product creates for them. So for us, being able to be, you know, in contact with the consumers and how they're feeling at that moment in time, in terms of, look, make the most of your time during lockdown and learn a new skill. That was the first necessary kind of scope that we took as a business, because we wanted to target and talk to consumers on a level that they understood and connect with the emotions they were feeling at that certain point in time.
That makes sense. And so did you ramp up your marketing? And just to be clear, when I said capitalize, I meant, you know, in that way. I didn't for one moment mean take advantage of the situation, but you're 100% right. As business owners, you know, so as a coach, you know, I've continued to coach my business, my clients through this process, right? But that doesn't mean you've been taken advantage. You've actually been helping, right? So, it's, and I 100% agree with you. These people that are selling toilet rolls and PPE and that at far extortionate rates, that's a totally different concept. So, what did you do for your marketing? That did you double down on certain marketing? Did you hold back from marketing? Did you carry on as you were? What sort of approach did you take on that?
So I think the first key aspect was building out a specific funnel. Like I mentioned earlier, that related to the consumers and what they were feeling, their emotions at that time.
Yeah.
Because if anything, the services we were providing actually become kind of a support mechanism to get people through this tough time. We're not capitalizing by trying to sell extortionately priced courses and providing no value. We're an extremely fairly valued business. We don't overcharge for our courses, and we provide tons of value. And anyone who looks for our video testimonials or our hundreds of reviews will be able to relate to that factor. So for us, it was being able to marketing wise connect with the audience. And then once we connected, it wasn't a case of doubling down and going crazy and trying to really capitalize on the opportunity. It was just about trying to help people, trying to, like I mentioned earlier and a minute ago, trying to actually engage with people and help them spend their time productively during this obviously crisis and pandemic. So for us, it wasn't really about going crazy on marketing and trying to bring on too much that we can't handle. It was a situation of let's try and expand the opportunity, create a specific funnel that's in touch with people's current positions and help these people through this period. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people have come out of this period without jobs or jobs to go back to, or in the next, a couple of quarters, they will lose their jobs. So being able to encourage them to learn a skill now, for example, we have a funded traders process. Funnily enough, we launched that within the crisis, within the pandemic as well. Now that process isn't, oh, come and buy our education, spend 500 quid on a course and let's see what happens. It was about providing a tangible end outcome, which is to fund traders once they become consistent and self-sufficient. So we brought on a lot of new people who embarked on this 12-month journey to, become a funded trader. And after the 12 months, they become accredited and they get funded by one of our partners. Yeah. Now, when you're funded, it all of a sudden opens you up to an income which is greater than, say, 50,000 a year. And the first couple of months, and as we always discuss, taking that first step is sometimes the hardest thing. So being able to connect with people, to get them to take that first step. Now they're 4 or 5 months into that journey. They're 6-7 months away from trading a 100 grand funded trading account, which, if anything unfortunate happens within the next 6 or 7 months, they've got a clear focus in terms of how they can start controlling their own life, their own future and their own income. So that I would say, as a summary, it wasn't a case of let's try and become as profitable as possible. It was let's stay true to our values of business and let's try and help as many people as possible and provide these extraordinary opportunities through the power of education, because that is what the Improve Your Future Group is all about.
Makes perfect sense, and it's the right way to do it, right? It's the right way to approach it. What with regards to staff, what sort of challenges have you seen around that? Obviously, you spoke that you were in your office based, then you work remotely. So, you were doing that anyway, but what sort of challenges have you faced with working remotely with your staff?
In general or since the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sort of relates quite close to the time anyway. You moved out in sort of November time, but now, the pandemic hit in March. So really it's just in the last 4 months, really.
It's been the best thing I've ever done. It's been the best thing. And anyone who's watching this, who's, debating whether or not to go remote after seeing, the potential of it through, like forced potential through the pandemic, just go for it and give it a go. Potentially start with a couple of employees and start making those remote based, and slowly over time, gradually move into that remote based structure. For us, I have not really incurred any issues. And if I have, as a businessman, you have to look at what's going on around you. And if we've incurred issues such as so-and-so's not being productive, I can't get in contact with them and stuff like that, the general, kind of fear that you'd have if you move to a full remote-based structure, it's all about tracking performance. That's what it's all about. For me, 2 things that massively help me keep my staff on track is, number one, I have a call schedule with a team in each venture every single day. So every day we're reinstalling the goals for the day ahead, and then we're checking back to them the day before. Now, another really important aspect is how you actually get people on board. how you're employing people. If you're employing people that are there to earn an income, remote-based structure is not going to do justice. Whereas if you've employed people that are genuinely passionate and purposeful about what you're doing as a company, they will put the hours in, they will be productive, and more importantly, they will be effective in achieving the goals that you've set out for them as a team, because they feel like they're contributing heavily to the bigger picture. Now, in a remote-based structure, having people who are purposefully driven is vital, is absolutely vital, because you're not there to babysit them. You're not there to, try and tell them what to do and coach them through everything. They'll find a way, and they will allocate the time correctly to make sure the job gets done, because they feel a purpose and meaning and a desire towards that.
Yeah, and you've touched on it there. You've said about the targets and the comms, right? Communication is absolutely key, no matter what. What in any business, whatever business you're in, at any time, any environment or climate, right? So, but even more so when it's remote. So, it's something that people just, I always say that people, a lot of people abdicate rather than delegate, right? And it's just being really clear and just, having your communications, like you said, you have a call every single morning with your staff. I do the same. They know what they need to achieve, and if they haven't got the tools to achieve it, then you'll help them get them, right? So,
just to build on that as well, we're so fortunate at the moment. If people aren't putting their weight into something and they're not purposeful about their work, get rid of them. Like, look at the size of the talent pool that's opening right now. That is such an advantage to us. Places, crowdsourcing, for example. I use Upwork. Upwork's amazing. Fiverr's okay, but Upwork especially. So many industry professionals are coming onto these crowdsourcing platforms. They're picking up 3 or 4 different, $500 to $700 retainers off of a few different firms, and so on. You can literally access, because of this generational shift occurring, such high quality employment staff members to contribute towards your firm and your goals that would cost you $5-6 grand a month, and you can pay them $500-600. They're happy with it because they're building 8 or 9 different streams of income. You're happy with it because you're getting intense value out of a few hours a week, rather than having someone sit there and producing the same value but getting a full-time salary. So it works for both parties, and we are so lucky right now to have such a big talent pool, and more importantly, such a big talent pool coming over into this remote working space and wanting to work as consultants, wanting to work as freelancers.
Becoming a new normal, right?
It's the new normal. Like, every business that I have, we have someone who, manages the product. Now, I'm not going to try and manage the product myself. So I can go out to the market, and I can pick up people that are extremely experienced in that field. They are, the highest level of professionals. Yeah. And normally that would cost $5,000-6,000 a month minimum to have someone like that work for your company. Like I mentioned earlier, you can pick this up for $600-700, and it's not unfair on them. You're not taking advantage of the situation they're in. They've realised they don't want to be earning $5 grand and selling their life away to someone else, because, like I mentioned, they're picking up 8 or 9 different income streams from 8 or 9 different little businesses. They've got more of a purpose because they're working directly with small businesses and owners. So it's a win-win situation. If you don't tap into that market and really leverage resource for the value it's worth, when it's literally staring you in the face right now, then, I don't know, you're an idiot.
So that's what I love, right? I love you're as blunt and straight talking as I am, which is great. You're a little bit older than I am, Jake, but but the technology's there, right? The technology's there, and I've been saying that this is forced people into technology. This isn't the first time I've said that my 93-year-old nan uses FaceTime now, right? Yeah. And it's made people use technology. It's made people start working remote. Even the big investment banks, all of this, none of them are full up with workers. They're all working from home. Would you agree that the technology's probably been accelerated by 3 to 5 years?
What, in this period or in general?
Yeah, just in this period.
The problem is with tech, and don't get me into like AI and stuff, because I'll rabbit on forever.
All right, we'll stay away from that. Yeah,
we'll stay away from it. Just in general, I do think that the shift is, I think it was going to happen.
Yeah,
I think it was going to happen. I don't think 3 or 5 years. I think maybe a year or 2 years. Like I mentioned earlier, the way that we've been able to see on a broader scale, businesses that would have never gone remote based are now going remote based, and realizing how the impact it's had on productivity and effectiveness of staff members.
Yep.
Nearly every business owner that I speak to has had the same conversation in terms of we could save on 2 or 3 positions here because the workforce is so much more productive.
Yep.
It was going to happen eventually anyway. That's why I cut out in November last year. However, I didn't think it would be boom coming into the next year. It's all happening. I'd say a couple of years, but I still think there's a massive delay to technology. Just touching upon AI in the future. I don't think people realise how far we are in our development curve for tech. How we've got robots learning emotions right now. We've got self-driving cars. They've been around for 5 or 6 years. The problem is we're not ready for the technology that's already been created. It could literally ruin everything we're building as a generation, if that makes sense. So we do have to delay technology to kind of make sure that, like you said, your 93-year-old nan's using FaceTime. It's a perfect example that she would have been really resilient to using FaceTime because she's so used to her whole old habits and behaviors. So gradually over time, we have to introduce technology, which is a measurable period. Firstly you get the adopters, and then you have to get the adapters, and then you get the resilient people that really they take time to adapt to technology. So we have to give new technology time for everyone to adapt to and move forward. But technology in itself is just like developing so fast that stuff that's being developed today probably won't come out 20, 25 years. And from a business perspective, you look at, say, Tesla, for example. Elon Musk is, he's such an aspirational entrepreneur, and that's what I really, really admire about him. He wants to, take on the world, but even from the stance of where his technology actually is at, self-driving cars, Teslas, they're there. They could launch a batch of them tomorrow. The reason is, why would you launch them when you've still got, an electric car that can do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds and have a range of 400 miles, when you can sell that? And you sell millions of those, and then you launch your next tech, and then you launch. It's the same with Apple. This phone here is I think it's an 11, right? They've got a 15 or a 16.
They hold it back, right? Yeah, and that's it.
They've got the advancements in technology are amazing, but from a business perspective, you're stupid to play your trump card straight away and just progress when you haven't given the natural cycle of adopters, adapters, and so on to move onwards. Therefore, so. It's kind of, businesses are running how we move with technology. So you can say, coming back to your point, are we 3 or 5 years ahead or whatever it might be? Businesses are deciding how far we developed in technology.
Yeah, I totally agree. My point was it's made. I mean, Zoom's been there for years, right? But all of a sudden, Zoom's like a household name, and it's like the next best thing. But actually, it's been there for years, which basically backs up your point, right? But so with regards to IYF Group, right? So and Jake Lee, so I know you're doing a lot to build your brand online and on YouTube and things like that. So, where was your mindset in this? Have you always been, so whenever we've talked, and we've talked quite a lot in the past, right? And I know quite a bit about your background and things like that. So I know that you're very, you've got bags of energy, bags of enthusiasm, a hell of a lot of talent, and a thirst for learning beyond anyone I've met, certainly of your age, right?
You're charming.
Yeah, exactly. But it's true. It's touching, right? But look, your thirst for learning is unbelievable, right? What did you adapt during this time? Did you have a mind? Did you, surely you even had a chink in your armor, or you had some stuff that you went through during this pandemic time that made you reassess, might wonder whether you're doing the right thing. Did you go on a bit of an emotional roller coaster, or was you always just ploughing forward?
2 things. So firstly, emotion is the biggest killer of all entrepreneurs. So if people, when people talk about, what did all of these successful entrepreneurs, Bezos, Zuckerberg, what they all have in common are they all worked extremely hard. Now, that might be true, but you can't work extremely hard and that be sufficient to become successful. You have to be able to control your emotions. So, last year was vastly challenging for me. And that's where, I had to learn my own craft to manage my own emotions. So in terms of what I've experienced this year, for example, business is hard. Business is challenging. It's arguably the most challenging thing you can do being an entrepreneur, because you are so reliant upon the performance of yourself, and your businesses. You're taking such big risks every single day that may or may not pay off, that you have to be resilient. You have to be in control of your emotions. For example, it's every single day life. Like, it's not just about the pandemic. It's because before the pandemic, I was already well mentally prepared. I wasn't born like that. I didn't come out my mum's womb having a good mindset. It's trained, you know. And I think one aspect is, if you want to improve how you deal with your emotions, you have to learn it. You have to go to school on it. You know, you have to get out, get into the revision books, watch podcasts, just fill your brain with so much positivity and, beneficial value that you can then adapt to your own life. Without doing that, you're not just going to wake up one morning and say, oh, I've got a good mindset, and all of a sudden you have a good mindset. You might for half an hour, but it will naturally, it will naturally go away, because it's not a habit and a behavior that you've installed in yourself. So in terms of how I've been affected by the pandemic, no. In terms of, if I went broke tomorrow, I wouldn't start scrambling around if I lost everything. I would have the same emotional control and mindset, because that is vital to be an entrepreneur. And I am an entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur by job. It's a lifestyle. I walk into Tesco's, I go to the reduced section, right? It's not about how much money I've got or how successful I am as a person. It's who I am as a person. And therefore, if I don't have my emotions in control, I'm not going to be successful as a person, because I am an entrepreneur. Now, the second thing you mentioned about the capacity for learning, the best way I can put it, and you might have heard this saying before, and it's a saying that, there's certain very famous phrases and saying that sit well with different people. The one that sits extremely well with me is, give a man a fish and it'll feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and it'll feed him for a lifetime.
Yep.
It's all about, how much value you can add into yourself. It's not about that instant gratification of what you've achieved. It's about building that long-term picture. And if you can't build that long-term picture, you're never going to have the, resilience to be able to get on the books every single night and spend an hour every day. If I look back at my mindset a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm a completely different person. I keep growing, I keep prospering, and naturally in my life, I'm seeing more success from it. So it's easy for me to sit here and say, I wouldn't change putting an hour of my time every single day into revision on certain topics I want to get better at. Coming back to the analogy, I don't want someone saying, here's a gem for you. This is what you need to do to improve your mindset, and that's that. I want someone to teach me how to improve my mindset. And the only person that can do that is you. You can't rely on anyone else to make you get up in the morning, make you revise, make you a better person.
It's discipline, right? It's discipline. You got to earn before you learn. We've said this before, right? You got to learn before you earn. Sorry, and you've got to learn this stuff. You've got, like you said, nobody just wakes up or is born with these certain talents. Nobody, when I hear people say about, I'm crap at sales, and you say, well, how many webinars have you been on? How many books have you read? How many courses? How many coaching sessions? How many training sessions? All of those things. They say none. You go, well, of course you're crap at sales, right? You've got to learn this stuff first of all. So what has it taught you during this time, during this period? What has it taught you, about others, about your business?
I think it's just taught me, I think it's just proven it, like I was just saying, it's proving a fact in terms of how far you can come if you genuinely, put a lot of time into your own self-development. Because these periods, it's a case of what lessons have you taken out of this period? I take the same lessons because I have a set plan of who I want to be in a year's time, 3 years time, 5 years time. So the fact that I'm so focused on my own goals, I'm in massive control of my own emotion. It's not a case of, what did I take out of this difficult period? Because this difficult period is just a part of life. I haven't looked at it with different goggles and gone, oh my God, we're in such a difficult period. The world's going crazy. Of course I know that, but I'm not focusing on it. I'm just cracking on with everyday life. And that's what you need to do as an entrepreneur. So to be honest with you, Dean, specifically what have I learned from this period? I'm not going to sit here and say that I've learned anything that I wouldn't have learned if we didn't go through the pandemic, because I'm constantly trying to better myself. I'm constantly opening my eyes to new things and trying to further myself beyond what I'm capable of the day before. So I wouldn't say that the pandemic has taught me anything in particular.
Yeah, and look, if it's not the pandemic, people have heard me say this time and time again, if it's not the pandemic, it's going to be something else, right? Business and life is cyclical, right? So things will come around and we go in seasons, right? In business and in economies, right? So, we have boom times, we have bad times and all of that. So with regards to the future then, bringing that on, right? So you're continuing to learn, you're continuing to grow, you as a person, IYF as a group. What's the rest of this year hold for you guys?
There's a few different goals. So I want to finalise off the portfolio we've started, the niches we're in. So Mortgage Friends will be the last platform we launch this year. And we've got Trading Mentor Online just launched. So I really want to build out and bring some consistency in the flow to both of those platforms, and obviously continuously grow the other platforms. I mean, I don't know if you saw my post on LinkedIn yesterday, but we've had a 312% increase across the group in the last 2 months in terms of conversions into new clients, which is crazy. It's things that, I didn't think, if you have the mindset of, is that achievable? You're not going to achieve it. If you have the mindset of, I'm going to do this, it's going to be achievable. So really from a business perspective, obviously focusing on the newest ventures to the group and building consistency in the flow of those. Overall, we really want to be turning over 100,000 a month across the group by the end of the year. Because ideally in 2021, I'd like to do 2.5 mil turnover. And yeah, I mean, by the end of this year, we want to be in a situation where we're kind of doing a 6-figure turnover a month and sticking to the parameters we focus on, in terms of what our ratio would be on that turnover. So yeah, just, the diversification stage and the building and the implementation stage has kind of happened. And for some of the newer ventures, bring consistency into those, and we bring the whole performance of the group up. So there's a little bit of a financial aspect in terms of what we're looking to do by the end of the year, and a few individual focuses, and really just setting the stone for the growth that we're looking to experience in 21.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to seeing it happen, mate. I follow you. I follow you on your YouTube, and you keep putting those videos out as well. But look, I don't need to wish you all the success. I'm sure it's going to happen, right? But keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much for your time, Jake.
No worries, Dean. Been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.